This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good evening, everyone. The regular schedule was we were going to finish the meal, Dav and Mariv, and then have an hour and a half shir. And there was another official vote, and it was unanimous that I should give the full hour and a half shir. But I overrided the vote, and we're going to have the executive summary in 7 minutes. Okay? So I'm going to give you the Rashi Prakim of the subject, and this is connected to the theme of the Yarchei Kallah, the ethics of war. And please take home these marmakoimos, study them, learn it well. If you want a full version of this one, it is available on TorahAnytime.com. And since everyone has already signed up for Gedalia's venue and Chaim's venue, if you want the full version, they could give it to you. But this is just for the sake of completion, since we're treating the subject of the ethics of war. The question, a halachic question, very interesting question. Actually, we had a guest on Shabbos who was on the front lines in Gaza, and he was a combat medic. And in rescuing Israeli soldiers, if there was fire that he had to overcome, he would shoot back. And he had to knock off a few terrorists on his way to save people. Halacha l'maisa. The Shulchan Aruch tells us that Kohen shaharag es hanefesh lo yisa kapab. A Kohen that takes the life of someone cannot Duchin, cannot go up and be mevarich es ha'am. The Gemara says in Brachos, if you look at number 3, Rabbi Yochanan, Kol Kohen shaharag es hanefesh lo yisa es kapab. Shenemar yadeichem damim mileu. Your hands are full of blood. So the question is, if you have a soldier in the IDF, and in the course of a military operation, they shoot down the enemy, are they now disqualified to Duchin? So it's interesting, if you look in the Shulchan Aruch brings a number of opinions. Shulchan Aruch in Siman Kuf Chav Ches and Sif Lamed Hey brings a Kohen that murders someone, even b'shoigeg, cannot Duchin, even if he does tshuva. What? In the times of the Shulchan Aruch, the possibility of Milchemes Mitzvah was non-existent. There's no such thing as a Milchemes Mitzvah in the 16th century. But that might make a difference. And then the Ramah says that if the person does tshuva, he could Duchin. You could be Mekil on Balei Tshuva, not to, so to speak, close the door before them, because if you're going to tell a Baal Tshuva that you were Harias HaNefesh, and even though you did Tshuva, you can't Duchin, he's not going to want to do Tshuva. And the Ramah says that's the minhag, but it's unclear what the halacha is. And this was the question that was posed to Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. It's brought in the Chavadas Chelek Beis. Chayalei Tzahal She'eshtatfu V'Karavos Neged Sivos Mitzrayim Yarden Syria. If a soldier is fighting against Egypt, Jordan, Syria, the Arachas Yisrael, Upagu v'Hargu Mechayalei Ha'oyev, are they disqualified to Duchin? Now it's very interesting. I found in the Sefer Nefesh Harav that Rav Soloveitchik paskined that an Israeli soldier that takes the life of the enemy is permanently disqualified from being Oilel Duchin. Yeah, this is the natural background music for this subject. This was the disqualified, permanently disqualified. Yeah? Should I go with it or just wait? Go with it. Okay. Okay. So that's the opinion of. It's not. This is the opinion of Soloveitchik. It's audible. Yeah. Rav Ovadia Yosef has a very lengthy tshuva about the subject. Pal, you want to turn up to me? Rav Ovadia Yosef has a very lengthy tshuva about the subject. Rav Ovadia refers us to a Tosfos in Masechta Brachos, which interestingly gives two different perspectives on the reason why if a Kohen is holiest hanefesh, he would be disqualified to Duchin. Tosfos in his first answer says that the disqualification is not a fundamental halachic disqualification. Tosfos says it's only chumrah ba'alma. It's only midrabanan. It's only a chumrah. But then Tosfos says that it could be much more fundamental than just a chumrah. It could be an issue of ein kategar nasis kanegar. If the very hands that took the life of somebody now wants to convey blessings of shalom to somebody, that would be inappropriate. So Rav Ovadia brings in a number of factors in this question. The first one I'm going to tell you in Lashon HaKodesh for a number of reasons. Barishona, Hayim ha'halacha shekohen holiest hanefesh lo ya'aleh l'duchen imurak harag es Yisrael o achim harag akum. De'ulai im harag akum eino b'chlal hadin hanal. Ken? Okay. So that's the first aspect of the shaila. Does this apply only in holiest Yisrael, or does it even apply if harag ovdei kechav mazalos? But then Rabbi Ovadia brings in the factor of the Pri Chadash. Pri Chadash says that if somebody was coerced to kill someone, then they would not have the status of a murderer, and they would be allowed to be oila l'duchin. So says Rabbi Ovadia, if someone who's coerced to kill someone is not considered roitzeach, al achas kama v'kama, in such a situation where somebody is defending the Jewish people, where Rabbi Ovadia writes, and this is very controversial line, I don't think many are aware that Rabbi Ovadia slips this in, because there's a big question in halacha. Is fighting in a war today considered Milchemes Mitzvah? Because Milchemes Mitzvah is fighting the Sheva Amamin. The nations of Israel today are not the Sheva Amamin. You typically would need a melech to declare a war in order for it to be Milchemes Mitzvah. Rabbi Ovadia says, L'hoshia es Yisrael miyad sar is considered Milchemes Mitzvah. And therefore, if someone is coerced to kill someone, they would not be disqualified from Duchining. Says Rabbi Ovadia, if someone is defending the Jewish people, that would not disqualify them from being oila l'duchin. The question though is, we all know, we're all familiar, everybody remembers from Yeshiva, that David HaMelech was told that he would not be able to build the Beis HaMikdash because Yadecha damim mileu. Does anybody know, where does it say in Tanakh that David could not build the Beis HaMikdash because his hands were full of blood? If anybody knows the answer, they are going to win a very big prize. A medium ribeye steak. In the bag. Nelson, you have one in the bag? Okay, could anybody tell me, where does it say that David could not build the Beis HaMikdash because he killed people because he had blood on them? The answer is, it doesn't say it anywhere. It doesn't say anywhere that David could not build the Beis HaMikdash because he had blood on his hands. What does the Navi say? That the Navi came to David, David, you can't build the Beis HaMikdash. So David says to himself, why can't I build the Beis HaMikdash? It must be because my hands are full of blood. But nobody told him that. This was David's own assumption. And if you look in the Radak says that something very interesting. The Radak says, why could David not build the Beis HaMikdash? So we all say, he fought the enemy. The Radak says, no, he didn't fight the enemy. What's wrong with fighting the enemy? Is a Mayo not allowed to Duchin because he spilled blood? So what's wrong with killing the enemy? It's Milchemes Mitzvah. The Radak says the blood that David spilled was the blood of Uriah. That was perhaps innocent blood. But the fact that he killed the enemy of the Jewish people doesn't say anywhere that disqualified David from being oila l'duchin. And therefore Rabbi Ovadia says there is no makar that from David HaMelech that just because Yadecha damim mileu, first of all, doesn't say that anywhere. Second of all, that was David's assumption. Third of all, it wasn't because he killed the enemy, it was because perhaps he killed Uriah. And moreover, the Radak says, maybe because he's responsible for the blood of Noiv HaKohanim, not because he killed the enemy. By the way, there's a very interesting Yaros Savash that you could add to this. where the Gemara in Bracha says that the Klal Yisrael, the Chachamim, came to David and they said, David, Amcha tzrichim parnasa, Klal Yisrael needs livelihood. So open up the storehouses, open up the treasuries, and give them money. David said, nah, I want to keep the money to build the Beis HaMikdash. Let them fight a war. You know, war is good for the economy. Some of the soldiers told me that we're helping out the people in Gaza. Because until now, they had no jobs. Now, they're going to become builders, they're going to become architects, now we built up their economy. War is the best thing for the economy. So, says Yarchei Stavash, when Chazal say David had blood on his hands, it's because he said, go engage in discretionary war rather than using the coffers of the king. I want to add one factor why halacha l'maisa, it should be pretty clear that even if a soldier takes the life of the enemy, they should not be disqualified from duchening. And that's because this whole discussion is in the Shita of the Mechaber. The Mechaber says that a Kohen who killed b'shoigeg cannot duchen, even if he did tshuva. But then there's the Shita of the Ramah. The Ramah says if he did tshuva, he could duchen. And the Ramah says, v'yesh lahakel al balei tshuva. Why? Because if you don't allow a Baal Tshuva to duchen, you're locking the door before them. They're not going to want to do tshuva. So can you make the same argument? If you're going to tell someone in the army who's defending the Jewish people, go ahead, risk your life to kill the enemy, but if you kill the enemy, you need to be embarrassed for the rest of your life when all the other Kohanim are duchening, you can't duchen. Maybe he's not going to want to fight in the army in the first place. So the whole svara of the Ramah of why you could be mekel on balei tshuva, because otherwise you're being noyel delas b'fneim, does that perhaps apply to someone who's protecting Klal Yisrael? Maybe you can make that case. Bottom line is, Rabbi Vadia writes that his opinion, not only do we not tell a soldier who defended the Jewish people, Yadecha dama mileu, we tell them, Techzakna yedeyem, your hand should be stronger in your ability to bless the Jewish people, because instead, not only are your hands not a kategar, your hands were oisek in a mitzvah. Perhaps it's like the mitzvah of bris milah, because we know that by protecting Klal Yisrael, they fortify the bris between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Knesset Yisrael. Bottom line is, Rav Avadia writes in Yechav Adas that the disqualification would not apply to a soldier who, in the course of defending the Jewish people, took the life of the enemy. So this is a executive summary of the topic. Rav Soloveitchik said that they would be disqualified. Rav Avadia's psak is, in fact, they would not be disqualified. So that we'll call this shir part 9 of Ethics of Warfare. But tomorrow, we still need to do 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you're going to have to get a good night's sleep. We have a lot to do tomorrow morning. Okay.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.